I never wanted to be a YouTuber. But the more I tried to avoid that label, the more I felt like I was patching together a version of myself that didn't fit. And just when I thought I was figuring it out, I would constantly hear everyone telling me to
really dig into like the strategic sides of YouTube.
You need to make hundreds of videos.
You cannot be sacrificing quantity for the sake of quality.
I always felt like YouTube wasn't real filmmaking, yet I wasn't worthy of the title filmmaker. But after uploading one video after another, 4 years flew by, and the silver plaque made me realize something. Choosing the right label never mattered. The freedom to create was what mattered. Choosing to keep showing up and making videos that excited me, no matter what I was called. So as a YouTuber trying to figure it out, I want to give a massive heartfelt thank you to everyone who's made this creative journey even possible. To celebrate hitting 100,000 subscribers last month, I want to take you through my home city, Vancouver, while I answer 10 questions from you guys. Hey! Kron.jpg asks on Instagram why you started this content journey. Great question. Where do we all start, huh? I started because I really enjoyed magic growing up. That was a long time passion and hobby of mine. I would watch these really cool and flashy like montage videos and magic trailers that would promote like magic tricks. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm gonna watch more of this. And especially because magic still had this image of like being dorky and nerdy. The more that I watched it, the more I wanted to do videos like that too. And I would make montages of my own magic tricks, and I would just realized that this whole process is really fun and really rewarding. Why I keep making videos is because I want others to feel the same excitement that I did when I first watched those cool magic trailers. So whether it's through flashy editing or through sharing my personal experiences or through storytelling, I just want to give that same excitement to other creators. That one Virgil on YouTube asked, what was the biggest step you took towards doing what you love as a career? So, biggest step actually came from hitting a block. It was 7 years into my career. I was working with one company exclusively, and I felt like I was hitting a glass ceiling. And around that time, the pandemic hit. And I think that was my first time having some space to really think and reevaluate like where I wanted to be as an artist. So I started with a small steps after another. And that first small step was really posting on Instagram. And there would be these micro content where I would explore different techniques and different styles and just rediscovering what my style is and what I'm happy with creating as an artist. Before I knew it, I was already building an online presence and a personal brand. And I realized the importance of that. And I started getting clarity of what I actually wanted to do as a creator. And then that led to me doing YouTube, creating YouTube videos, and here I am today. Ended up being a small step that turned into a massive leap before I even knew it. Get me off this thing. BD Dante on Instagram asks, what makes you tick? Oh, that's a great question. I think what makes me tick is that I'm addicted to growth. It feels weird to say that because I'm not making like massive improvements in my life, massive leaps where I'm like, I must grow. But when I watch these directors or creators or editors or whoever who are like killing it and they're making videos that are destroying my reality, that are still inspiring me the same way that I was inspired to make videos in the first place, it makes me want to close that gap. Right? I see where I want to be, which is like them. I see where I am, and I just want to get closer. Whether that's learning a new lighting technique or a VFX technique or a storytelling structure, something that gets me 1% closer to where they are, I think that's what makes me tick.
Oh, hey.
Elrinco Pro on Instagram asks, how do you avoid burnout? I don't avoid burnout, but I think over the course of my career, I've realized that it's better to have little burnouts over one big burnout. And how I do that is by making sure that I'm setting realistic expectations for myself. When you're working for clients and you're trying to please them, for example, you're trying to like cram a 1-month project into a week, and that feels impossible, and that stresses you out. And that's a very quick way to burn out. Another thing that's helped is also trying to not feel guilty when I require rest. So when I'm not feeling as productive and I'm not like grinding and hustling, like I need the rest. Like my body tells me that when I have brain fog or I don't have the energy or the capacity to like always be at 100%, I forgive myself if I require that rest, budget enough time for it. And I think that's a healthy way to approach creativity and to have longevity in a creative career. So AJ Martin on Instagram asks, how many hours do you give yourself to polish the skills of editing, writing, planning, etc.? And will I make a video series on YouTube that's how to start freelancing as a beginner? So I don't really give myself a set amount of time to really polish my skills, but I would say that I budget some time every week to make sure that I'm watching some YouTube breakdowns or listening to podcasts or even buying courses for a really specific problem that I'm trying to solve. I think the fastest way for me to grow has been just applying what I learned right away into my videos. I found that to make massive leaps in my growth, and that's what I highly recommend. In terms of actually releasing a course for freelancers, I'd love to if a lot of people are interested, because I don't think I came into freelance in the most conventional approach. So I think I have a lot to offer in that sense. So the next question is from ShadowCore89EMVs, and this one's actually from someone who is really active in my Discord community, so I'm really happy to see that he's asking a question here. And if you didn't know, I have a community and membership program for creators who are really serious about growing in their craft. I provide beefy project breakdowns and step-by-step tutorials that wouldn't perform well on YouTube, but is the fastest way for you to gain 17 years of my experience in making videos. So shout out to this month's members, and if you want to check it out, then click the link in the description to join my community. So he asks, what advice do you have regarding dealing with clients/giving and receiving notes? Being a professional in film and video production requires immense collaboration. How do you think to juggle conflicting notes from different producers, feedback from peers, etc.? So I treat taking feedback from friends and peers a bit differently than how I would in a professional setting. But there is a common ground between them, which is a question that I ask myself. Do I want to make work like them? For example, if Hans Zimmer gives me notes on like music composition, then I would be pretty insane not to listen to him, right? But if my Uncle Rob, who's tone deaf, tells me that the last few chords in my music composition isn't right, then that's a different story. But sometimes directors, producers, or people who are not in the same creative field as you don't really know the right technique or terminology or solution to provide to make things better. But if they say something like, oh, maybe that last title card or motion graphic could be changed to, this or that, you don't have to take that feedback necessarily at face value, but you can take the feeling of, oh, the ending doesn't feel strong enough to them. And then you can provide some suggestions on how to fix that. And that's my job. It's to interpret that feedback and then provide solutions. So Just by Raymu on Instagram asks, which project are you particularly proud of and how did you create it? There are a few that I'm proud of for different reasons, but one that I'm particularly fond of, I would say, is one that didn't get a lot of views or boost my career in any way, but it captured what I enjoyed the most from creating videos. This was inspired by a chapter that I read from a book, and I immediately saw the connection between what I was reading and making a cup of coffee. And having that feeling of like an idea and being pulled to create that video, I really enjoyed being able to chase that passion and that inspiration and create something with limited resources. So quite proud of it, and you can watch that video right over here. All right, Sebi Clemens on YouTube asks, what are your predictions for where content creation and creators are heading in the future? So I think AI is going to replace me if I don't improve fast. And I don't mean improving in the sense of creating flashier visuals or overproducing my content, putting in crazy VFX and all that stuff. I think the way that I can improve is through my storytelling and also vulnerability as a person. You watch these TikToks where people film it on their phones and they outperform videos that are overproduced commercials that are done by brands, right? And the reason is because we crave human connection and authenticity. So I feel like in the future, creators are going to lean more towards things like personal content, vlogs, streams, live events, these experiences, human experiences that AI can never authentically replicate. It's Edgar79 on YouTube asks a two-part question. The first part, what was the most challenging shoot you've ever done and how did you overcome it? I'm sorry, I can't tell you the most challenging one because I might get kidnapped, but there is one that was quite challenging that I can vaguely talk about. It was for a massive brand for a very expensive product, and they wanted it done in 10 days. So initially I thought the challenging part would be delivering this project in 10 days. No. The challenging part was that the product itself was so expensive that they couldn't ship it out to me. So they wanted a product commercial for a product I cannot physically shoot with. And on top of that, they wanted me to shoot outdoors during the most rainy season in Vancouver. How did I do it? I don't even know. I don't know how I pulled it off. Actually, Thomas, who's behind camera, helped me with this. Yeah, we were walking around Vancouver, right? We were looking for the ideal spot and we were looking for undercover areas we can shoot in and just waiting for pockets of time when it wasn't raining cats and dogs and we would quickly shoot it. And we were shooting it holding not the product, right? Because we don't have the product. We had a placeholder product in our hands. And then I pulled out every VFX trick I knew in After Effects to replace that product in my hand with the actual one that I asked the client to film on their end. That project has proved that impossible is nothing, but I try really hard not to think about that project again. Okay, so the second part of the question is also, I really want to become a good video editor, but my parents want me to focus on a medical science IT degree and keep editing as a side thing. The thing is, I'm more passionate about animation, VFX, and even a bit of music production. What would you do in my place? By the way, love your content. Please keep making more. Oh, that's a tough one. And I know exactly what it's like to feel torn between pleasing your parents and also pursuing your passion, because my parents had the same expectation for me as well. And I can't necessarily speak on what you should do, but I can tell you that there's usually two routes, right? One of them is to listen to your parents, follow the stable career so you have something that is financially stable and you can use, animation, VFX, and all that creative stuff as a creative outlet. So you can keep it purely for passion while not financially struggling. So the second option is, unfortunately, you will take the hit, financially struggle. If you don't have parents that can fund it for you so that you never have to worry about money, then unfortunately it is a tough route. But I think a better approach is to be realistic with your expectations and actually have a time frame of how long you should pursue it for. So say, for example, like 2 to 3 years, right, is your time frame. Your first year could be to go to, some sort of animation school or program, and then your second year could be to develop a really good portfolio and then start applying to companies that you can work for. See if it's financially feasible. For me personally, I went to film school and pursued the whole magic video stuff because I knew that deep in my heart, if I pursued the job that my parents wanted me to do, I would be filled with regret, I would be filled with resentment, and I didn't want to do that, right? I didn't want to do that to myself or my parents. So that's why I went to film school and gave it a shot, gave it an honest shot, and I'm gonna be honest, I really lucked out, but at the same time, I think it also took being backed in a corner, not giving myself any other option other than to really put in the hard work that pursuing art deserves. Hey. So Lance Hindman on YouTube asks, what's your favorite food? It's pretty easy. It's katsu curry. That's been my go-to comfort food for the past little while and where I went to eat when I hit 100K. Yeah, that's it. That's all the questions. Thank you for submitting your questions to me. I had a lot of fun answering them and showing you around my home city, Vancouver. Be on the lookout for my next video, and thank you once again for supporting my YouTube journey.